Well, good evening. I'm your host with Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. Tonight we're talking about why I am my leader. And that is something I really discovered, because something I discovered is 7 reasons why I'm my sovereign leader. Because why does personal growth, self-improvement, and therapy teach obedient leadership, never sovereign leadership? Here's a sharp clarity unmasking the subtle ways these systems preach growth but never perpetuate uh, leadership. They go, I call it followerocracy, stepping in thirdocracy. They teach techniques, never truth. Self-help loops and trains people to adopt frameworks instead of ignite sovereign originated mastery. The growth gets outsourced. Leadership dissolves into me, crybaby crap. As progress becomes performance, personal improvement is often framed around measurable success and healing milestones, keeping seekers fixated on fixing rather than flowing. See, that's the thing. You want to flow in the foresight to light your light of life. As leadership requires sovereignty, never scripted evolution. That's something I really noticed since I got into this. Everybody, when you read and try to follow somebody else, you're really stuck in the programming of them. And then you become what they call an obedient leader. See, the world is full of obedient leadership and leaders because they stay inside the education. And here's why the world is too educated to rise out of third world enslaving mindsets and college educated programming. And that's something I've witnessed in the last 30 years. Here's triple flare, rare breed credence, liberating clarity for me and you. Cutting past credentials, awaken the sovereign acumen. Education trains obedience, never omni-ific originality. And omni-ific is the most powerful creation or innovation in the universe. Most systems teach answers, never inquiry. Minds become conditioned to echo prescribed truth, making true liberation from colonial constructs never the impossible. If you look at the world today, we still operate on ancestors' programming. That is something I've really witnessed. We really listen to ancestors' programming, and the MBAs and the business and the coaches, they actually preach a third world enslaving mindset unknowing to them. And if you listen and really, if you hearken what they're saying, you'll catch the third world enslaving mindset. Because business and education will never rise the world to prosperity or freedom, because basically education and business is too cheap and too selfish because they want all the money for themselves. And that's going on today. And that's something we have to open up to. We give, something I really want people to understand. Tax breaks is taxpayer money. That's your money. But they use it and then that never has to pay back. Could you make, if you got 100 million in tax breaks, could you make money? Hell yes. Degrees reinforce status, never wisdom. The prestige loop perpetuates comparison and control. Instead of unlocking inner mastery, it validates external hierarchy, keeping scarcity mindsets alive and well dressed in the society. And we think as long as somebody's making a lot of money, they're a leader. A lot of them are smart, but there's a difference between being a leader and being a good businessman or a good business person. Don't ever get that businessman screwed up with a businesswoman. Because there is women out there way sharper than men. Never, never, ever. That's something I got to say. I've listened to some men and I've listened to women. Women have an intuitive edge over men. They ain't got that egotistical, know-it-all ignorance stopping them from moving forward. And I know somebody that had that egotistical arrogance and know-it-all ignorance, stubbornness, and hard-headedness controlling his life. That would be me. I want to make sure I get all the fingers pointing at me. And the more I understand how my egotistical arrogance, know-it-all ignorance, stubbornness, hard-headedness happen to be right, things done my way, that was the challenges of my life. They created every challenge that I experienced or faced. But of course, me being with my egotistical arrogance, it was always everybody else's fault. Then I fall into the cult of complaining and whining and bitching and belly aching. And it just really sucked. And that's the thing. The more we complain and the more we think we're owed, the more we bestow into yesterday. Something I'm going to say to everybody. Everybody has the same opportunity in life. Are you willing to go through your challenges, chaos? Well, you're willing to go through the chaos of life to celebrate your harmonized audacity opening system. Because chaos is awakening. Every unsettling event that occurs in your life is an awakening. It's showing you have talent. But we want to do it like I did. I tried to find the easy way and get somebody else to take the blame. But I really also have to admit, a lot of times I got the blame for what other people did. And I realized, what I mean. But the real reason is I had the courage and the curiosity to rise out of it. I never had to blame people for what was going on in my life. I could look in the mirror and admit, I innovated this for me to rise out of yesterday. Programming mass prowess with politeness. College scripts groom compliance behind polished language. The wild spark that liberates is buried under the productivity matrix and professionalism. Serving the soul from leadership. And see, when you're serving the soul, you're going to get that core whisperation to rise from in here. If it comes in here, up here, you never have the intuition involved. For me, anyway, everything comes from here up. Everything that comes from here down is from yesterday. This was one I really opened up to. Why marketers, self-help, business coaches, life coaching, and the gurus and the therapists, they're obedient leaders. And who they're obedient to is money. They're always trying to fix things, but the one they leave out of it is themselves. And if you really watch a coach, their face is never relaxed. I've noticed that. And an obedient leader is never an insightful leader. Because they're obedient to a socialized way of life. And that's where the two train tracks come in. There's business on one side, education, everything in the middle. We're taught how to be obedient citizens. Because the rebel-rousing citizens have a real flair for troublemaker, trend-setting, rebellious optimism. And here's two sharp double shot of intuitive clarity. Decode dismay through your sovereign lens of liberation. Surface tools, shallow truth marketers and gurus and obedient leaders often sell quick fixes and polished optics. Their insights skim the surface, avoiding the inner friction. That is something I'm going to get into here, where where natural innovative ingenuity awakens my designer daredevilry, and authentic leadership is forged from understanding friction. And what I'm saying about friction is, if you never had a blockage or a barrier, you've had friction. When you set, you're here and here. Here's the past, all right, and here's your outcome. And as soon as you set that outcome, the way you desire to experience, go whatever word you use, your subconscious mind starts going into the replays of all the pain of your life, all the misery and upset in your life. So as soon as you start that and you go over here, your cognitive recollections are going to keep you inside the railroad tracks and never let you get onto your Mustang Moxie and ride through the countryside, understanding the beauty of the thing. But all this is friction. And we're trying to do it without. See, all the self-help personal growth I ever went through and all the marketers, they want you to avoid your daily life. Everything you desire to expand through, every outcome you desire to expand through, the wisdom and inspiration, everything's going to be in your daily experiences. Just because somebody's having some unsavory events in their life, that's where wisdom rises. Knowledge will never rise you above a book or the computer. And how is the world too stuck in computers and lack the core inspiration to move forward? Inspiration is my word. That's wisdom and inspiration to move you forward. And see, wisdom and inspiration are above the cognitive recollections, the mindset resistance to move forward, and your comfort zone programming. That's where the world is really stuck, is in comfort zone programming. That's from our ancestors, our parents, everybody. And see, we want it scripted. And see, that's one thing about therapy. They're going to script it their way. However, what you script from other people makes you an obedient leader. An obedient leader will never rise out of yesterday. And the scripts over spirit surging savvy are led, and the scripts are led by following trends, never by exhilarating essence to expand, energize, and enterprise your life. When leadership is performed through rehearsed methods or therapeutic formulas, the signal waves gets muffled and keeps you in yesterday. And the wisdom of your day and of your life events dissolves into me, crybaby BS. And that's what it is. When you think the world owes you something, you're just in the crybaby BS of life. Why education steals leaders' insight, instilling a snobbish arrogance. Here's some liberating revelations unmasking why indoctrinated education quietly reshapes leadership into elitism. And you can see that today. And if here's the thing, I always look at this. If I have to cross a flooding river, the person I'm with, is he going to have the courage to do it? And I look at the leaders of the United States and the world today. If there was $100 bill on the ground or helping somebody, they're taking the money and going over the hill. The leadership of the world and your leader is within you. And what is it ever you desire to do, you got to rise, shine, and energize that cowboy riding rope audacity within yourself. And one thing about leadership into elitism, external validation replaces inner vision with formal education, often measures worth through grades and accolades. This distorts sovereign leadership into hierarchy, climbing where insight gets swapped for image and looking good in other people's eyes. And how many people today will do something to look good in somebody else's eyes and leave somebody behind. I had that happen to me a bunch of times. And I'm sure I did it. I sure pray I don't never do it again, but I know I've done it. Everything you say you never did, you did. But today is a brand new, another brand new expansion, and to be chauffeured to your liberating beaches of bountiful bliss. And one thing education does, intellectual superiority masks energetic poverty. See, the world thinks as long as you got that degree and you got this business going, and if you ever notice somebody that says, I got a business, and they talk business, 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 they lack the core inspiration and authentic audacity to look life in the eyes because they're trying to mask something. I've been at this for over 4 years, and I went to a lot of these speaker things. When it comes right down to it, they never talk about the core inspiration within you, and they never talk about the spirit surgency or the heart harmonizing audacity to look life in the eye. And they idolize knowledge. When knowledge is idolized over wisdom, a snobbish posture forms. Leaders act with ego, never essence, missing the sovereignty clarity that true leaders demands to open up their dexterity to lead the world. You know, something I've noticed, and I've said this a lot, there is zero leadership in the world. You open up to encompass the great get and go to be the leader. Standardization breeds disconnection by enforcing sameness. Education erases intuition. Let's say that again. Education erases intuitions. Leaders groomed in this system prioritize correctness over connection and cultivating status quo woe instead of soul intuition. Where do you see that today? I see that all over. You know, when you listen to these business, 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 if the business and education and everything was such leaders, why are they forgetting a third of the people? When you get that educated leadership, you sell your soul for money. You sold out to the money of the world. And how many of the leaders of today can you trust? I was a union member for 36 years. The unions have zero leadership. They sold out. The union leadership has sold out to the businesses they control. And I noticed that. And I always wanted to say that. Why am I the sovereign leader of my life? Because my fresh spirit wave of bold inner authenticity unleashes adventurous audacity laced with clarity as my scripts of innovative ingenuity my sovereign nowographies. Nowographies, present moment, something you write yourself. Because an autobiography is here and a biography is here, but a nowography is right here. With zero, as I script my sovereign nowographies, zero institutionalized thinking, knowing, and knowledge opens trend sets my authors to color and design my life of my dreamer's dexterity in a bold, bright way. I forge my rhythm with fierce attunement. My life unfolds by design, never by default. And I am the Picasso, coloring, sculpting, and the Michelangelo magic within me. I color my world, my way. As my prowess is experience, never licensed. I never borrow leadership. Did you ever think of this? All your licenses? Or is the government's telling you how to think? I had to take tests and I had to stay within inside the code book and the electric. All that was the government telling me how to be an electrician, and they didn't know jack crap about it. As my license, I never borrow leadership. I embody leadership. Every breath, every choice, and atomic expansion is a declaration of my venturer's vitality. As I am source, I am stance, I am the flame of fame, feeling awesome, magically expanding through life. How does that feel? As awesome as you are free, adventurous, magically energizing your whys. Why strategies and structures are obedient leadership with zero ingenuity. Here's some sharp clarity burst and grid-minded binds that gets decoded and energized. The flow that rises within me to lead my life through listening, energized audacity, dancing with my dreams on the moonlight because I am free from yesterday. Strategies imitate, never ignite. Pre-built structures and success formulas breed replication and never revelation. Obedient leadership clings to what worked before, never asking what I want to emerge from this experience. And the one question they never ask: is there a better way for me to experience life? Structures cage the signal rigid systems favor control, never innovative ingenuity. They suppress wild, liberating acumen and spirit surge wisdom, leaving ingenuity locked outside the boardroom doors because they want it according to their comfort zone programming and corporate cloning. That's the way they want life. I'm introducing Spira Surge to you. Spira Surge is a surge of spirit prowess energy that rises from within, bypassing program cognition to activate intuitive mastery, foresight, flowing with free-flowing energy and liberated expressions of my revelations, rising me to my beaches of bountiful bliss. As my spirit surge is a sudden rise of soul energy. Of spiritual context, a spirit surge daringly describes my spontaneous influx of intuitive clarity, emotional intensity, and energetic awakening during moments of I experience deep insight and intuitive innovations. As my soul enterprise the ignitions where presence floods a system with visionary veracity, undeniable intuitive acumen. Why my spirit surge wisdom energizes my legendary leader. And what did my spirit surge awakens is never learned. It's experienced through my daily events and encounters. As my spirit surge channels raw intuitive understanding from beneath conditioning, activating the clairvoyant wisdom, awakens my legendary wizardry that sculpts my pristine desired lifestyle. And something I really want you to understand is you are the leader when you listen to yourself. You know, here's the thing. You are the leader. Why external leaders will never understand my leader's wisdom. His clarity infused with a double dare flair External leaders operate from frameworks. I embody the flow of my free-flowing energy. My insight pulse from elemental attunement, never academic analysis. What I understand, I live, and there never walked they've never walked that terrain. My signal wave isn't built for external validations. My metrics can't measure it. My leadership is sense, never approved. It's encoded in a breath and veracity with a ritual of revolutionary energy, never in titles or applause. That's why they'll never grasp it's beyond their grid. Why title accuracy embellishes leaders' egotistical arrogance and shuts off their wisdom or their listening. Titles inflate the image over integrity. Once the label is worn like a crown, ego expands to fill the space. Authentic curiosity collapses under the weight of self-importance and egotistical arrogance. Listening becomes a performance instead of an attunement. Leaders begin to listen for optics. Feedback turns into stage rituals, never a relational flow. Veracity gets filtered for comfort. Arrogance replaces adaptability. Titles imply arrival. Leaders assume they've graduated from learning, guarding status with a defensiveness instead of welcoming evolution. As you know, the thing is we think that the world thinks that degree gives them everything. All that degree does is give them a box inside a book and what they've done yesterday. This is one I want. Why Cowboy Wisdom Hypnoacuity shows people the way to liberate themselves from themselves, to understand they are wise and energized with innovative wisdom. Here's 4 points on why your raw grits meets defined awareness. Cowboy wisdom clears the clutter into straight shooting simplicity, pierces self-deceptions by stripping away pretense. It with reveals a wild intelligence hidden underneath identity roles, mental loops that keep replaying yesterday. As hypnoacuity refines perception into prowess. As attention deepens, illusion dissolves. People stop reacting from conditioning and start responding from their understanding of their enterprising energy, awakens them to shut off the noise that once ruled their life. Core whisperation becomes sovereign activation. Together, these tools move people from introspecting to ignition. The liberation is an escape, it's embodiment of their own signal encoded innovative mastery, because you are the master of your life. Innovation emerges from unfiltered essence. There's no borrowed script needed. Cowboy clarity and hypnoacuity open direct access to intuitive brilliance, reminding people they are never just equal to the world. They are active innovators within it, opening the world to a better way to experience life. And I want to thank you for being here. And all these is showing you another way to experience life. Thank you and enjoy your weekend.